Hello everyone, welcome to AITAREYA Institute and our daily current affairs series. I am Aditya Singh. So every newspaper gives you information, but success in UPSC demands on your ability to analyze that information from an examiner's perspective. Okay, so in this series, we will decode every important issue with complete background, static linkages, prelims facts, mains analysis, and answer writing value addition. So, our goal is to help you study smarter, think analytically, and stay one step ahead in your preparation. So, let's begin today's current affairs session. Okay. So, one important news that is present with regards to your current affairs is the Codex Alimentarius Commission. Very important news. Codex Alimentarius Commission. So India secured major advancement at the 49th session, CAC 49 in Geneva. It happened in Geneva, where the commission officially adopted the 7 food standards developed under whose leadership? Indian leadership. Okay, this is why this news article becomes extremely important. So the Codex Alimentarius, its Latin name is Food Code. So it is a comprehensive collection of internationally recognized food standards, the guidelines and recommendations. All this is very comprehensive, serving as WTO SPS reference for food safety in the entire globe. Okay. Apart from this, one thing that I would like to share it with you uh, with regards to your CAC. Here, what you need to remember is, I'll tell you, it is first of all, it is an international food standards body, and the standards that are provided, these standards. So how will the UPSC is going to ask it? So the standards are voluntary, voluntary in nature, and these are not binding. Okay. So if an examiner wants to confuse you, he will simply say that these food standards are binding for the member nation. No, they are not. These are voluntary in nature. Another thing that you have to remember is who established. So it was established by CAC, Codex Alimentarius Commission was established by WHO and FAO. Okay, so combined, so both these organizations formed this Codex Alimentarius Commission in 1963. Okay, so again, if an examiner wants to confuse you, he will simply say that this organization and a Codex Alimentarius Commission was created by, let's say, United Nations General Assembly, but it is WHO along with FAO. Okay, so the member nations, there are around 188 member nations, including India. India is a part of this, plus European Union. Okay, so CAC is a body which is responsible for all matters regarding the implementation of joint FAO and WHO food standards program. So CAC meets in a regular session once a year. So it meets once a year, alternating between Geneva. Here it was written, see, Geneva. So one year it happens in Geneva, another year it happens in Rome. Okay, so this you have to remember. So this is alternating between Geneva and Rome. Okay, so coming back to the news, the standards that are provided are Indian-led standards. So adopted international benchmarks for dried coriander seeds, fresh curry leaves, vanilla, and large cardamom. So this all these benchmarks will facilitate smoother export. The idea is to ensure smoother export channels for the South Asian spices. South Asia is famous for spices. I'm sure you must have read all of this, and not all of this as in terms of spices. Why Europe, different companies from Europe came to South Asia. That was essentially for the spices. So this Indian-led standard is essentially promoting the export of such South Asian spices. and cashew kernels standards. So India proposed to formulate a brand new codex standard for cashew kernels that was approved, and reducing technical trade friction for global tree nuts. Oh, the entire idea is to smoothen the trade. Smoothen the trade in the sense what? Export becomes easy for the uh, South Asian nations. So global safety revisions happened. So the session adopted revision guidelines targeting Listeria monocytogenes in ready-to-eat products and Salmonella. And I am sure in bio you must have read about Salmonella. Salmonella typhi. Okay, Salmonella in poultry. How to use Salmonella in poultry, strengthening global food safety. So you have to be aware about all these things are happening because these are Indian-led standards. Okay, so this news article is very important. Trial in absentia. As the name suggests, the trial will be undertaken in the absence of the offender. Okay, so a special NIA court in Jammu issued a non-bailable warrant against the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba chief Hafiz Saeed, okay, in connection with the Pahalgam terror attack. Okay, so NIA wants trial in absentia under section 356 of BNSS. What is BNSS? BNSS is Bharatiya Nagrik Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita. ठीक है, BNSS. It replaced the earlier CRPC. So under this section, a new provision enables full-fledged trials and judgments can be proclaimed against the offenders who have deliberately absconded. Okay, so this is what the NIA court wants. And with regards to NIA, do remember this: NIA it's a statutory body. It is a statutory body. When we say statutory body, it essentially means that it was created through a law, through a legislation. So it was created in 2008 after the infamous 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Okay, then it was created. Why? As a central counter terrorism law. Counter terrorism law enforcement agency. Okay, so it is a statutory body. It is responsible for investigating offences if any offence is undertaken against the sovereignty, security, and integrity of India. And all this is punishable under various laws. To be specific, 8 specific laws. For examples, I'll mention some of these laws under which you can undertake the proceedings of the NIA. NIA can undertake the proceedings. And for instance, one is UAPA. UAPA 1967, very infamous act. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Another is Anti-Hijacking Act. Anti-Hijacking Act. This is in 1982. You don't need to remember the year. UAPA you can remember. And Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. You have Atomic Energy Act. So another thing with regards to NIA that you have to remember is it can take suo motu cognizance. Suo motu cognizance of any offense. Okay. So of any terror activities without the permission of state government. Now this is why this becomes very controversial, because you don't require the permission of the state government. And NIA functions under which ministry? Ministry of Home Affairs. And please remember this, unlike CBI, CBI functions under Ministry of Personnel. Okay, so remember that CBI and NIA are under different ministries. So we can say this: NIA is the only true federal agency in the country. Just like you have FBI in USA. So NIA is the only true federal agency in the country. So NIA Act constituted special courts for conducting trials of offense under this act. Okay, various amendments have been made which empowered the NIA to investigate all the offenses even outside India, and it widened the scope of law, and it included human trafficking also. It included cyber terrorism, counterfeit currency. Moreover, it allowed the central government to designate sessions court as special courts for the trial of such scheduled offences. Okay, but again, why is it so much controversial? Because it can take suo motu cognizance. Okay, and this is why I think it was in 2020-21 where Chhattisgarh government moved the Supreme Court under Article 131 to declare the NIA Act 2008 as unconstitutional. But nevertheless, this could not succeed. Okay, so coming back to the discussion here, old CRP under this section 82 clause 4 declared absconding accused as proclaimed offenders. Section 229 allowed evidence recording in absence. Evidence can be recorded in absence, but no complete trial or judgment could be pronounced in the absence of the accused. If the accused is absent, you cannot undertake a complete trial or judgment. So these were the provisions under old CRPC. Old CRPC. You don't need to remember the section number. Okay. Even in BNSS, you're not needed to learn the number section 3. You are not needed. You just have to limit yourself to the constitution. But you have to know that this is a part of BNSS. That is it. So under BNSS, under this section 356, a full-fledged trial and judgment is now permitted against the proclaimed offender facing offences punishable with 10 years, life imprisonment, or even death sentence could be proclaimed in his absence. So this is the level under BNSS, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita. Provided 2 warrants, a public notice, and a 90-day waiting period. Okay, after 90 days, you can go ahead and proceed. You can conduct trial in absentia. So deliberate absence is treated as a waiver of the right to be present, and this is why a trial in absentia could be undertaken. So evidence must be recorded through audio, visual, electronic means to ensure transparency and facilitate future judicial review. Obviously, it can be future and judicial. It could be judicially reviewed in the future, but that does not limit the court to not undertake the trial in absentia. I hope this is absolutely clear. Okay. Moving forward, another news article, which is the Thukachi temple. Thukachi temple. So 12th century Abhat Sahayeshwarar temple at Thukachi. Abhat Sahayeshwarar temple at Thukachi, which is in Thanjavur. Thukachi is in Thanjavur. So Thukachi is in Tamil Nadu. Okay. Received the prestigious UNESCO Asia Pacific Award of Distinction for outstanding heritage conservation. So it is a living historic temple. It continues to function as an active place of worship while being preserved as a protected monument. So there are various temples which are conserved as a protected monument, but they are not worshipped. Tamil Nadu temples have always been in news because of the control that is imposed by the state government, and they are not the issue is not control of the temples in Tamil. The issue is also that they are not funded properly. Since they are not funded, the temples in Tamil Nadu, these are controlled by the state, but these are not funded. So the situation is deteriorating day by day, and this is why various religious organizations working within Tamil Nadu have pleaded to the state government to release them out of their control, or at least fund them or release them out of their control. They will be able to manage and fund those temples by themselves. Okay, but the Tamil Nadu state government earlier or even today also, they are not willing to release or loosen their control over the temples. So Thukachi is another temple. It is a living historic temple which received this prestigious distinction. Origins origins is very important. So the origins are associated with Kulotunga I, and Vikram Chola. So Kulotunga was associated with Chola dynasty and a very famous ruler, Kulotunga Chola. And a Kulotunga he was, I'm sure if you have read a bit of history, you will remember that he sent goodwill mission to 72 traders to China. Okay, so he was famous for sending goodwill mission, goodwill missions to China. Okay, and he also gave complete freedom to Sri Lanka, complete freedom to Sri Lanka, and even got his daughter married to a Sinhala prince. Okay? So this was about Kulotunga. Coming back to the discussions, so Royal Chola origins. The origins are very important, and Chola after every 2-3 years there is a question not in prelims but in mains on Chola. Okay, and prelims anytime you can expect a question on Chola dynasty, and this is why also this temple becomes important from the point of view of static as well as from the point of view of current affairs. So it may be the only major temple built entirely during the Vikram Chola's reigns. Inscription referred to as Vikram Chaloweshwaram, Vikram Vikram Cholaeshwaram. So the architecture, what kind of architecture is Kara Kovil architecture? It's a rare architectural style where the temple sanctuary is structurally conceived in the shape of a chariot. So the shape is chariot, and this is why this is the prime thing. This is the key. This is a key feature of Kara Kovil architecture, that the shape is like a chariot, an exceptionally uncommon design in Tamil temple tradition. In Tamil Nadu, Tamil temples, you generally won't see a processional chariot. But here, under the Kara Kovil architecture, you can visibly see this. So precision restoration. So drone surveys and digital mapping cataloged every granite block before dismantling. So traditional Sthapatyaved knowledge was combined with modern engineering, setting a model now incorporated in Tamil Nadu's official temple restoration model. So knowledge was combined from Sthapatyaved as well as modern engineering to restore the precision, restore it with preciseness. So this was undertaken in Thukachi temple, which is in Tamil Nadu. So 2 or 3 things you have to remember. One is, this temple, Thukachi temple or Abhat Saheshwarar temple, and second is under Vikram Chola, and third is the processional chariot. So these are the only 3 things that you need to remember from the point of view of prelims. Okay, moving forward, this is a news article from the point of view of geography and mapping. Tibetan Plateau, often referred as the roof of the world. So a new international study published at Nature Geoscience by UK and Chinese geoscientists have revealed direct structural evidence of how the Tibetan Plateau was formed. So it is essentially the entire discussion is around the formation of Tibetan Plateau, which is also known as Qinghai Tibet Plateau. It is the highest and largest upland area on the earth, covering approximately 5 million square kilometer at an average elevation of 4,500 meters. So you can remember this, that it is, since it is this upland is the highest upland on earth, highest and largest. So you can remember rough figures as to the height above. This height is above mean sea level. Okay, area you don't need to remember. Just remember in this that it is the roof of the world. So Tibetan Plateau, if we talk about, there have been theories as to how this is acting like a median mass. Regarding its formation, it acts like a median mass between two mountain ranges, two very famous mountain ranges. We have discussed it in our static discussions of geography. Kunlun Shan, है ना? Kunlun Shan and Himalayas. ठीक है? So on, if you can see here, so this at the bottom is your Himalayas. This is your Himalayas. Just a rough figure, and here it is your Kunlun Shah. ठीक है? And above it you have Taklamakan Desert, Tarim Basin, and over it you have Tien Shan. Okay, we have covered this already. If you don't know this, please have a look of these mountain ranges, though I have clearly made it. Okay, so it acts as a median mass between two mountain ranges. है ना? So how was it formed? According to median mass theory was provided by some of the geographers, but the more contemporary theories are around plate tectonics, and more particularly modern plate tectonics. Modern plate tectonics theory. It said that it was formed because of collision. So Indian plate, this is your Indian plate. It's a continental plate. It moved like this, and here you have Eurasian plate. Eurasian plate. So Indian plate meets or collides with the Eurasian plate, and earlier there was a Tethys Sea between Eurasian plate and Indian plate. There was a Tethys Sea, and gradually your Indian plate started moving, and the Tethys Sea closed in between. Okay, then started after meeting of the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate, subduction started happening. Subduction, remember this, subduction of which plate? Indian plate or Eurasian plate? So it is Indian plate. Indian plate. Okay. It's actually, the correct word would not be subduction, rather under thrusting. Under thrusting. What it means is, let's say this is Indian plate, and over it you have your Eurasian plate. Okay? Over it you have your Eurasian plate, and the Indian plate is pushing the Eurasian plate from the bottom. So in the bottom is your Indian plate, and over it you have your Eurasian plate. So under thrusting is happening. Okay? So deep pressure subduction thickens and uplifts. Finally, differential uplift, east-west uplift. You have a contrast. You don't need to remember this. I'll tell you in this article what you need to exactly remember. So this plateau feeds major rivers like your Indus, like your Brahmaputra, Yangtze, Yellow, Mekong, and Salween, supporting billions of people downstream, and acts as thermal engine. It acts as a thermal engine driving the timing and the intensity of South Asian monsoon. Very, very, very important point. It is because of the low pressure created by the Tibetan plateau. Why? A main issue. What happens? What are the features about Tibetan plateau we read just now? That it is at a very high altitude or elevation. One thing, very high altitude or elevation. Second thing, it is the highest upland and largest upland. And because of these two reasons, one second, because of these two reasons, the Tibetan plateau generates a very strong thermal low pressure. Thermal low pressure is created, and this is what creates a pressure gradient. This is what creates a pressure gradient or pressure difference. And this pressure difference is what drives the southwest monsoon winds. Okay. So each and every technical concept I have mentioned it to you, because a lot of questions from geography are created in terms of assertion and reasoning. So you need to be absolutely clear in terms of the concepts and the reasons why this thing is happening. Okay, the reason behind it. So all in all, you have to remember first thing that what is the roof of the word? Okay, one second. One thing, what is the roof of the word? Second thing, if you want, you can remember that it is the highest and largest upland, and you can remember this altitude 4500. Okay, and third thing, its formation. Its formation is explained by modern plate tectonics: collision, subduction, differential uplift. Then simply just remember that modern plate tectonics is explaining it. Fourth thing, it feeds major rivers like Indus, Brahmaputra, Yangtze, Yellow, Mekong, and Salween. So these are the only four things that you need to remember. Obviously, apart from the monsoon point, and a very important news article. So, okay. So Indus, by the way, Indus originates from where? Indus originates from where? It originates in Tibet from a glacier known as Angsi Glacier. Sorry. Now, Angsi Glacier is your Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra originates from Angsi Glacier. ठीक है, Angsi Glacier, where Brahmaputra in Tibet is known as Yarlung Sangpo. Yarlung Sangpo. ठीक है, you have to remember this. Second thing, Indus. Indus is also known as Singhi Khambam. ठीक है, in NCRT this is mentioned Singhi Khamban in Tibet. Just like Brahmaputra is known as Yarlung Sangpo in Tibet, and similarly Indus is known as Singhi Khamban in Tibet. And where does Indus originate from? This is important. This is mentioned in your NCRT. It originates from Bokarchu Glacier. This is mentioned in your NCRT. So please remember this. And another such rivers is Yangtze River, Yellow River, Mekong River, and Salween River. So you have to go and demarcate these rivers. So keep on doing mapping along with the current affairs discussion. And this river, I'm not sure, but most probably you must have not heard about the Salween River. And it flows from the Tibetan plateau. It moves southwards into which sea? Andaman Sea. Now this becomes very important. You have to remember the source along with the mouth of the river. Both the aspects is very important. So the source, it flows from Tibetan plateau into the Andaman Sea, river Salween. So this was asked in your UPSC prelims. Okay. So Salween primarily flows within southwest China and eastern Myanmar, and with a short section forming the border of your Myanmar and Thailand. Okay, but mainly your southwest China and eastern Myanmar. है ना? Myanmar, there are also other important rivers like Irrawaddy, है ना? Irrawaddy, from where the famous name Irrawaddy dolphins came from. But here you have to remember it flows in eastern Myanmar. Okay, Andaman Sea, this has been already asked in your UPSC prelims. Okay, moving forward. So this is a landmark act. This is Maharashtra Women Farmers Empowerment Act. So this is very important because this is a landmark first. So Maharashtra became the first Indian state to legally recognize women farmers through the Maharashtra Women Farmers Empowerment Act. Through this act, and it became the first Indian state to legally recognize women farmers. And and this was enacted during the UN observed International Year of the Women Farmer. So why this has been undertaken? To address the structural inequality. What is this structural inequality? Historically, it has been observed that three things: the benefits coming out of the agriculture, the loans, and the extension services. All this is tied to who owns the land. And who owns the land? Everyone knows it is predominantly the men who own the land. So this act tries to break this chain decisively. Okay, this needs to be broken. Land ownership, because if women start having that land ownership, then only they will be able to accrue the benefits coming out of agriculture. They'll be able to avail formal credits, formal credits, है credits on the agricultural land could be taken up only by those on whose name the land is, who owns the land. Only those people can take formal credits from the banks. So this has been the case mostly with the men. The land ownership is predominantly with men. This act tries to break that chain. If you see the data, 73% of 73% of the Indian rural female workforce, almost close to 75, that is engaged in agriculture. However, if we compare that with men, it is only 47%. Yet, women had near zero formal legal recognition as farmers. No legal recognition. This is the first time, this is the first state which has created this landmark act by by recognizing women farmers, the intrinsic role played by women farmers. Okay, broad coverage. So all those women who are engaged in crop husbandry, animal husbandry, even poultry, fishery, agroforestry, vermiculture, mushroom cultivation, even primary processing, all those are recognized as owners. Okay, policy foundation built up by Maharashtra, fourth policy for women aligned with India's National Policy for Farmers 2007. So in this news article, what you can remember is, first and foremost thing is this act. You have to remember this. Very important because it is a landmark first. Second thing associated with this, why it is being so important, because of the International Year of Women Farmers. Second thing. And from Main's point of view, you can remember this data which highlights the structural inequality. And you can use this point for Mains and this data for Mains. Okay, I've told you precisely what is needed. So Maharashtra Women Farmers Act is created, core mechanism. So you will have Women Farmer Certificate issued by Gram Sabha, Nagar Panchayat. Okay, it replaces the land title requirement for accessing the state benefit. So state benefits will not only be provided by who owns the land, but based on women farmer certificate, which will be issued by the concerned Gram Sabha or Nagar Panchayat. Another thing is digital registry and fund will be created. A centralized digital registry which will be backed by dedicated state empowerment fund for dedicated welfare schemes. Okay, two-tier oversight will also happen. At one will be state level monitoring committee which will be held by chief secretary, and second will be governing council which will be held by which will be led by chief minister. Okay, so you have to remember this one thing here, women farmer certificate will be used to avail the cell state benefits. Okay. Second thing is the two-tier oversight structure. Two things. Significance and way forward. That is important for means. In what sense? You will have you will unlock credit. The women will be able to avail formal credit, not only formal credit, but also avail and access the crop insurance. Okay, crop insurance and institutional loans. What is the benefit of institutional loans? The institutional loans, interest rate, the interest rate on institutional loans is less. So they will be able to repay the loan easily, unlike the non-institutional loans, the informal loans by sahukars. There the interest rate is very, very high. And more often than not, the women or the people are unable to repay that loan because the interest rate is such. So they become entrapped in the vicious cycle of poverty. Okay, so this is why institutional loans is very important. Second is climate resilience. So if you have legal recognition, now that scales up women-led sustainable practices like vermiculture, like agroforestry, and growing forests, growing trees along with your crops. Multiple set of benefits of agroforestry. And it will reduce your water erosion because the trees will do two things. It will reduce the speed of the runoff water. First thing. Secondly, it will bind the roots of the soil. So soil erosion will again be also reduced. Wind erosion will be multiple advantages of agroforestry. Key challenges. Deep rooted patriarchal norms. This is a challenge, very dominant challenge. Patriarchy that is entrenched in the rural setup. The digital divide in rural areas is significantly high, particularly in terms of the man and women. Third challenge is bureaucratic bottlenecks which are present at the Gram Sabha level. So these are the key challenges which need to be addressed in order to make this act effective. What is the way forward? Mobile WFC. What is WFC? Women Farmer Certificate Enrollment Camps. Gender quotas should be provided in the banking schemes. Along with this, you will have vernacular legal awareness campaigns. Why legal awareness campaign? In order to make the women aware about their rights. So this is your vernacular legal awareness campaigns. Okay. Now this connects Maharashtra's social reform legacy. Maharashtra has that legacy of Jyotirao Phule and Savitri Bai Phule. I'm sure you must be well aware about the contributions of the social reformers. And Jyotirao Phule. I'm sure you must have heard about Mahila Mahila Seva Sadan. I'm connecting this with your static. Mahila Seva Sadan. It was established in 1852. This was started by Savitri Bai Phule. And Savitri Bai Phule is known as the mother of Indian feminism. You have to remember these points. Static points, very important point. So Savitri Bai Phule, along with her husband, founded the first ever school for Dalit girls in Pune in 1848. Savitri Bai Phule was an anti-infanticide activist. So Mahila Seva Sadan is for raising awareness for the women's rights. And please don't confuse your Mahila Seva Sadan with Seva Sadan. Seva Sadan, there is another thing, Seva Sadan. This was in 1908. Behr, this was by Behramji Malawari. This was by Behramji Malawari or Diwan Dayaram Gidum Gidumal. Okay? So this is Seva Sadan and this is Mahila Seva Sadan. So you have to remember the Mahila Seva Sadan. Okay. Jyotiba Phule or Jyoti Rao Phule. His most famous thing is Satya Shodhak Samaj. Very important. Satya Shodhak Samaj. It was started in 1873. Okay. Why? The purpose was to liberate the less privileged. In the less privileged, not only comes the Dalit, but also your women. Even in this also, the less privileged, the women are also focused upon, and not just the Dalits or the Shudras. Jyotirao Phule is famous for his Deen Bandhu weekly. Deen Bandhu. It was a weekly journal, and I remember this very important points. So it was a Marathi language newspaper, though it was founded by KP Bhalekar. KP Bhalekar. It served as an outlet for Jyotiba Phule's Satyashodhak Samaj. And Jyotiba Phule wrote various books here. Gulamgiri, which he dedicated his book on American slavery, though the book is on Indian caste system. Shetkaryanch, Sarvajanik Satyadharma, and Savitribai Phule wrote Kavya Phule, and a very important book, Kavya Phule, Bhavan Kashi Subodh Ratnakar, and her famous poem Go Get Education. Go Get Education poem, very famous. ठीक है? So you have to include all this in your answers. Okay. So that concludes today's session. I hope this session helped you strengthen your understanding of the current affairs discussions. So revise today's concepts around current affairs, practice MCQs along with previous year questions. You'll get to know a lot about it. And share your doubts in the comments. If you found this session helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to the AITAREYA Institute YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. See you in the next session. Until then, keep learning and stay consistent. Jai Hind.